All right, now the other thing we're going to work on in this particular section of the chapter is going from word problems to equations. And here we're going to introduce some new vocabulary. All right, the word problem here is you're learning yoga in a fitness class which charges a $100 registration fee. So just a one-time fee for joining plus $10 per lesson. All right, so the first thing we need to do is we need to identify what X and Y is. What are the missing elements of the problem? All right, now one thing that we should probably introduce at this point is this. The idea of independent versus dependent variables. Because this, when you figure this part out, it tells you which one's going to be X, the input, and which one's going to be Y, the output. All right, so here's what I mean. What you want to think about here is when you read the story, what depends on what? Okay, what's missing here is this. How many lessons are we going to take? And how much are they going to charge us in total? But you have to ask yourself, what depends on what? Does the total charge depend on the number of lessons? Or does the number of lessons depend on the total charge? Okay, well, the way it's set up here, they're charging you $100 up front, but then $10 per lesson. So it should be like this. Okay, the total cost is going to depend upon the number of lessons you take. If I only decide to take 5 lessons, then my total cost is going to be different than if I took 20 lessons. So the cost depends upon the number of lessons. So in this case, X is going to be our lessons. So here, the number of, I keep forgetting to grab the pen, the number of lessons, and Y will be the total cost. Okay, so that's something you're going to see quite often in the upcoming chapters, independent versus dependent variables. All right, so now we can start thinking about the equation. All right, so the cost, the way we calculate the cost here, hopefully you've seen it, would look something like this. A $100 upfront fee plus $10 per lesson, where X is the number of lessons, so 10 times the number of lessons. And so when I put my variables back in, cost is Y, and lessons is X. So there's my equation. Y equals 100 plus 10 times X. So whatever my input is, however many yoga lessons I want to take, I input that, and this equation will spit out the costs. And this linear function gives me all the information I need. All right? All right, so that's a little bit more about trying to do word problems and create equations from them. All right. Here's another word problem. Okay, a machine salesperson earns a base salary of $40,000, meaning that they're working $40,000 a year. Doesn't matter if they sell machines or not. But they do get a commission of $300 for every machine they sell. Okay, so it's to their advantage to sell more machines because for each machine they sell, they get an additional $300 in pay. All right, so first thing we want to do, of course, is again, ask the question, what are the variables? In this case, I believe it's going to be how many machines does he sell, and then his salary, his total salary. What's he going to make? But which one depends on which one? Does his salary depend on how many machines he sells, or does the number of machines he sells depend on the salary? All right, well, if you think about it, it should be this. Okay, his total pay depends upon the number of machines, that should say machines, plural, he sells. So what that means is that the independent variable X, our input, is going to be the number of machines he sells. The thing that depends on the number of machines is his total pay, and that'll be our output, Y. All right, so now we've established that. Let's see what that looks like. All right, so his total pay, Y, is going to be what? Well, it's going to be his base salary of $40,000 plus a commission of $300, but only if he sells more machines. So $300 per machine, which is X. So plus 300X. All right, so now if 1 year he sells 10 machines, I know to plug a 10 in right here. 300 times 10, 3,000, plus the $40,000 base, excuse me, base pay, and then that'll calculate his total pay. All right, so that's a little bit more about word problems to equations and the idea of independent versus dependent variables.